Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Mr. Chair, we're ready when you're ready.
Great. Let's call the order. Call the meeting to order and begin with this is the CYMPO Executive Board. This is our regular meeting of Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. It's 1 p.m. And we will have a call to order and the roll call. Roll call, please.
Chairman Brown,
Here.
Vice Chair Hughes, Secretary Treasurer Good,
Present.
Member Armstrong,
Here.
Member Palguda, Member Knight. Mr. Chairman, I see Member Knight online, but he's not responding, but you do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Since we have the quorum, we'll go ahead and move to the meeting guidelines. Members of the public desiring to address the committee are subject to the following. The decision to allow a member or members of the public to speak is left to the discretion of the chair. A person may only speak if called upon by the chair. Speaker's time may be limited at the discretion may limit the number of speakers. A speaker shall not be disruptive. Shall the speaker be disrespectful? Except other during the call of the public, a speaker may only address the specific agenda item, then be discussed. The chair may terminate the person's speaking time for violation of any of the foregoing. Audience members shall not engage in disruptive behavior during the meeting, including speaking when it is not his or her time to speak. A person may be ejected from the meeting for violations of this guidance. All right, moving on to Title 3, Title 4. Pledge of Allegiance, I'm sorry. Yeah, put that on the next page. Forget it. Go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, Title 4 Policy Meeting Procedures. It's note we follow the Title 4 as of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and related non-discrimination statutes and regulations in all programs and activities. Members of the public may review the CYMPO Title 4 plan and submit a self-identification survey by accessing the CYMPO website. Number 4, call to the public. This item is to provide an opportunity for presentation and comments by the public on subjects not on the agenda. Please complete a request for public input card and submit to CYMPO staff prior to the beginning of the meeting. When recognized, use the podium, microphone, and state your name. Speaker's time may be limited at the discretion of the chair. Executive board members shall not discuss or take action on matters raised during the call of the public. The board may direct staff to study the matter and or direct that matter be rescheduled for consideration at a later date. Do we have anybody here that wants to speak from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 5. Consideration possible action to approve the February 28th, 2024 regular meeting minutes of the Executive Board and the January 10th, 2024 Strategic Planning Workshop minutes of the TAC and Executive Board. Has the board had opportunity to read those and digest it? I see all shaking heads yes, so therefore I will move to approve both. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by the vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None indicated. Okay. Executive Director's update. Vinny?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'll just be brief. In the spirit of 7 of transit employee recognition, just want to recognize many of our TAC members that are here that actively come to the executive board meeting to support you. Want to acknowledge Gwen Rowich as president. Heather Reuter from the town of Prescott Valley, Frank Marbury from the town of Chino Valley, Dan Cherry from Yavapai County, and Andy Roth from ADOT, also appreciate Cindy Blackmore, the Chino Valley Town Manager. Just really want to appreciate their continued support in all that we do and their presence at this meeting, and also the CYMPO staff. There is so much that happens behind the scenes. We really have one heck of a dynamic team that is working on behalf of the region, all from the nuts and the bolts to the big picture, and really appreciate CYMPO staff today and always. And that's all I have at this time. Any questions, comments? Happy to address.
Any questions or anything anybody wants to bring up at this time to ask Vinny? I see none. Moving on. We'll cover that as the transit employee recognition was covered in that. Okay.
No, sir. That's a separate item. Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, go ahead.
Mike,
Transit employee recognition. Vinny.
yeah, let's have Michael, Lamar, and Pedro come up. Last week was a National Transit Recognition Day, and we just wanted to take a little bit of time today, and Michael will say a few words, and Pedro will say a few words. But we want to honor representatives from Yavapai Regional Transit, New Horizons, and Yavaline. A few of them are able to be here. The others that aren't able to be here are out on the roads and doing service on behalf of the region, but I'll turn it over to Michael. Turn your mic on.
Thank you, Vinny, members of the committee. As some of you know, we had a little luncheon today to appreciate some of the work of the transit folks in our neck of the woods. We have some recognition certificates to hand out, and we just really wanted to spend some time thanking the transit providers, the dispatchers, the drivers, and the staffs, because they're the folks that are really making it happen. Pedro, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, these agencies here, they're present here. Oh, I'm so sorry. Pedro Rodriguez, Chair, Vice Chair, thank you so much for having me. Just wanted to add to what Michael is saying. These agencies have done such a wonderful job over, gosh, YRT has been here for over more than 15 years. They've done a wonderful job, provided thousands of rides every year, which has been wonderful. And then with New Horizons, they've been providing service also for a little bit more or less than that time, and they were the ones that started the contractor, and they still continue to push that needle. Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to recognize them.
And if we could also invite Tom, I'm sorry, Tom, if you want to come up on behalf of Yavapai Regional Transit, give you the opportunity to say a few words of your folks too.
Here's a certificate of appreciation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for this, and I accept this for all of the employees of YRT. I thank CYMPO for all that they've done for us and continue to do for us. Our ridership is up 11% this year over last year. We will probably roughly about 15,600 transportations will provide through our fiscal year, which ends September 30th. So thank you so much for this. I deeply appreciate it. It'll get framed and posted up on our wall of honor, as we've come to call it. So, and thank you to the executive board as well. Thank you so much.
And Mr. Chair, also, it was your suggestion at the Yavapai Apache ribbon cutting that we bring together our transit providers in Yavapai County. CYMPO staff is working on that time to bring everyone together and see if we can create a more unified system to Yavapai County. And again, some of that representation is here. Mr. Chair, would we be able to take a picture with the board and the transit folks? Is that possible? Yes, please.
This goes to the New Horizons staff for all their stalwart public transportation efforts under the 5310 and the 5307 program. Pedro, is there somebody you'd like to?
Yeah, for sure. Bobby, Darlene, both of you here, and Jay as well. If you want to come up. So here's our certificate to you all. Thank you so much for your service. Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this, Darlene, your position again,
Assistant Executive Director.
Executive Director.
Yes.
And Bobby is their transit manager, and she's been with us from the beginning. And then Jay Blount,
He's our road safety supervisor. He's a new addition, a very welcomed and needed addition. He's going to make sure that we stay compliant and safe, and we're glad to have him.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Pedro, do we still have the bus out front or did that get moved?
It's still up front.
All right. Mr. Chair, could I ask you and the board to step out front of the building and take a picture with all the transit folks that are here and their certificates?
Does Maury have another one? I mean,
Yes, this third
Michael?
one is for Yavaline, and probably you might be the most appropriate person to
The mayor, and
for the stalwart public transportation efforts in PV and Prescott.
excellent.
okay, so all of us will go outside and get a photograph, okay?
Thank you. We'll be back in a few minutes.
That was the most important thing today. Can we adjourn the meeting? I'm back.
Anything? Okay, we'll call us back to order. And anything else in regards to employee recognition?
No, sir.
Okay. Rural Transportation Advocacy Council, RTAC, is Kevin available?
He is not online yet, sir. Oh, he is. I'm sorry. My apologies. He is online.
Oh,
Kevin,
hello,
can
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can we get him put on the big?
Hello?
We can. Can we transfer him to the bigger screen?
Okay, testing. Can you hear me? No?
There, now you're fine.
All right, Kevin, we can hear you.
Oh, terrific. Okay, thank you. We hit another big milestone last week. It was the deadline for committee hearings. So going forward, they'll finish up business on the regular session bills that have gone through the process to date. And this is also historically the time where as they get that regular session bill work out of the way, they focus more and more attention to passing the state budget. And so we'll probably see a lot more focus there. I know that they are pretty far apart as far as budget priorities go right now. So I think we've got a lot of work to do to get to a resolution on the budget. What we do know is that there's a 834 million projected deficit for the current year and an 878 million deficit projected for next year. They will need to pass a balanced budget and reconcile with both of those deficits. So that is very problematic as far as pursuing additional funding to direct to transportation. I'll also point out that relatively speaking, we've been in much worse shape. You go back to that recession about 15 years ago. This is nothing like that. In fact, the legislature's budget staff projects that if you were to leave baseline expenditures and baseline revenues alone, they would balance themselves out in about a 3-year period. So there's as the speaker has indicated, there's a cash flow issue that they have to deal with these next 2 years. They definitely have to balance the budget, but it doesn't appear that they're going to have to take any sort of severe action to accomplish that. But with that said, it's very problematic as far as pursuing our priority project legislation and any other bills that involve additional state revenue. On the flip side, I think we made a very strong case for addressing the underinvestment in transportation. And while I'm not optimistic about receiving additional funding, at the same time, I think that the visibility and the level of support that we've received for transportation has gone a long ways as far as the legislature not targeting transportation funding to balance the budget. So in other words, I don't see I don't see them transferring or rating the HERF revenue to help balance the budget. The governor in her budget proposal did identify about 420 million in what she called clawbacks. And this is funding that had been earmarked specifically for projects over the last couple of years, but that funding had not been encumbered or used yet. And so I think the philosophy was that we would redirect that funding to the state general fund to help balance the budget this year, but we would restore that funding to those projects in later years when it is ready to be used. The RTAC board has taken the position that if a clawback were to result in complicating or delaying any project delivery, that we oppose it. And that appears to be the position that most legislators have taken as well. So overall, while I'm not optimistic about receiving any additional funding for transportation, at the same time, I think we're in relatively good shape as far as lawmakers not taking from transportation to balance the budget. As far as other transportation legislation is concerned, we've got House Bill 2318, which reforms the Arizona Smart Fund, which provides rural communities with support and assistance to pursue and use federal competitive grant funding for transportation projects.
Dryer on the floor too.
1, 2,
Test,
3.
test, test.
We're back. We're back.
The revised project list includes the State Road 69 master plan, an active transportation plan, and a transit planning exercise, which will replace the coordination plan. This was 100% supported by TAC and is, I think, 100% supported by both CYMPO and the town.
Do you have any questions in regards, Cal?
Sir.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions in regard to it?
No.
So there's no action we actually have to take in my career. Well, we have to
No.
approve it.
Did you? Benny?
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
yes, sir, it is I'm sorry. It is an action item.
So we need to approve
Yes, sir.
the amendment.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I'll make that motion. Any second?
Second.
Second by the mayor. Favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Gary, is Gary on the screen?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, aye.
We also have Kevin back, Mr. Chairman.
Let's see if we got our TAC back with us. Kevin?
Kevin, you're muted.
Doesn't sound like it. Okay, number 10, review, discussion, and possible action to approve the Pioneer Parkway Trailhead Intergovernmental Agreement, the IGA.
Chairman, me again, real quick. This is item 10, the Pioneer Parkway Trail Project. It includes construction of a new trailhead facility, including improvements to Pioneer Parkway, a driveway, a parking lot, and a restroom. Everybody is in general agreement. All parties are either approve this or in the process of approving it this week.
Okay, how did things go with Prescott yesterday?
I was not there, but
Mayor?
Regarding,
It was on,
Pioneer Parkway Trailhead Project.
we approved it.
that great, we're moving forward. I don't believe there's any action we actually have. to
Yes.
take, is there?
Yes, sir.
Approve the draft?
Approve the plan or the project as it's written, IGA.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous. Review discussion, wait a minute, just a second. Yeah, we're on 11. Discussion and possible action to approve the draft application 2728 Highway Safety Improvement Program. Each step call for other projects. Vinny,
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is the Highway Safety Improvement Program, HSIP program that is made available to you all every 2 years. I believe there's somewhere between 70 and $80 million available to municipalities. This was the program that we were able to do a couple projects 2 years ago. One was the traffic signal, Gail Gardner Fair Street, and one was the improvements on Williamson Valley Road in Stasinski. So now this is the new program for this year. We have been working with your TAC to identify projects in your communities. And as you know, the last couple of years of how the process has gone, it'll be a few years for these to go into design and then into construction. With all that said, your TAC is here and present. We have the consultant, Mike Blankenship. Apologize on his behalf. He just had hip surgery on Monday. I think he has bionic hips, but he is able to join us virtually, and he will walk you through the 7 projects that have been identified for this region. And we're looking for any question, comments you have. I would also identify again, the chair of the TAC is Gwen Rowich, and she can, along with the TAC members, be able to address questions and comments. Mike, if you can hear us, we're ready for you to walk through those 7 HSIP projects that have been identified.
Sure. Thanks, Vinny. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Allison, were you going to put it up on the screen on your end, those 7 projects? Or I can share my screen either way.
Give us a minute, Mike. It's coming.
And while that's coming up, I'll just add on to what Vinny said. So this cycle is for fiscal year 27 and 28. So any HSIP projects that receive funding this round, they'll go into design in 27 and hopefully construction in 28.
You had it on there.
Have the list of
Oh.
projects.
Mike, do you have something other than just the list, or is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, just the list. Yeah, that right there.
We have it on the screen.
Yep. So just walk through real quickly and answer any questions you might have. So working with Ian there at City of Prescott, moving forward with a couple of applications. One is solar powered speed feedback signs on the high priority roads throughout the city there. And these are just the signs that'll flash your speed limit as you're approaching them, giving additional information to drivers who may not be watching the speedometer. Another systemic project for City of Prescott would be some low-cost intersection signing and marking improvements, again, at high priority intersections that we're working through. And this could include high visibility crosswalks where we have pedestrian issues. Working with Heather there with Town of Prescott Valley, another speed feedback sign on the high priority roads. With Prescott Valley, they're interested in using the movable or non-fixed speed limit or speed feedback signs. They'll be attached to posts, but they can be easily removed from those posts and moved to other streets and roads within the town. So they can hit more roads with the same number of speed feedback signs. Then working with Dan and Roger and Chris there in Yavapai County, a couple of paved shoulder projects, one on Williamson Valley Road, basically about a 2-mile stretch from just north of the Pioneer Parkway, where the shoulder narrows, all the way up to Bridle Path Road. And again, that would be putting in 5-foot wide paved shoulders with rumble strips where we have opportunities to get the rumble strips away from residences in terms of noise issues. And then on up in the Paulden area, Big Chino Road, basically from State Route 89, heading kind of northwest up to Mitchell Road. Again, about a 2-mile stretch of 5-foot wide paved shoulders. ADOT, we are still waiting to hear back from the district there, but the couple of opportunities that we've identified, one is basically in Prescott Valley there on State Route 69, and it's adding raised median, basically extending where you already have raised median from Stone Ridge Drive on the west end, heading east over to Navajo Drive, getting raised median in there. And then the second one would be adding paved shoulders again, 5-foot wide paved shoulders on SR 89A, basically heading out of the CYMPO region on the northeast corner of the region there, from the CMEX plant driveway up to towards the base of Mingus Mountain, Legend Hills Drive. And again, those two, the SR 89A paved shoulder is about a little over 1.5 miles long. The SR 69 median project would be about 2.5 miles long. With that, I would entertain any questions or comments.
And if I can add to that, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder to all our local representation here, the way that we've done this, ultimately, these are your projects. CYMPO is doing all the legwork for you. We're paying like around $7,000 roughly per application for the work that he does. In turn, he brings to your community on any of these given projects anywhere from $500,000 to a couple million, of which is 95 to 100% federally funded. So out of all the grants that CYMPO participates, we see this as the greatest leverage. But I need to be very clear today, again, all the legwork we'll do, and then it ultimately becomes the signature of your mayor and council, your board of supervisors. So just know that these are your projects, but we're doing it on your behalf. We're working with your staff, and we will ultimately turn it over to you so that these, again, are your projects. Mr. Chair, your TAC members are present, available to answer any questions, but those are the 7 projects that have been identified to this point.
Thank you, Vinny. Mr. Cherry, how are you today?
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm well. I'm Dan Cherry, Public Works Director with the county. I just wanted to kind of give a little update on this as the county has a few of the HSIP projects that were awarded in the last round going through the process. The state has definitely kind of stepped up their game in regards to ensuring that cost estimates are not going to be coming in under in the future. They are actually requiring tacking on some significant kind of contingencies, if you will, for this program. What that's doing is driving the cost up for these estimates that are associated with these applications. It brings down the benefit cost ratio, which is the primary metric that gets used in awarding these contracts. However, the goal, I think, is to try to reduce the amount of overage in the end game and keep this as close to possible to the local match, which ranges anywhere from about 6% to 0%, depending on the project. So I do think that these are all excellent projects to pursue. I think it would be in the best interest of the CYMPO region to do so. So as long as each of you are that have projects proposed within these jurisdictions here are supportive of that and willing to support your technical staff on it, I personally think it's well worth our time. That's all I want to say.
I have a question in regards to Gail Gardner Fair Street. What happened in regards to the funding for that?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the Prescott Council, and Mayor Good can add to this, recently met and rejected that particular HSIP project. And in that case, those monies are designated specific to that project. So unfortunately, they cannot be transferred to any other project. They go back to the state, to this particular program, to the bigger pot of funding for what we're talking about now. So
So it may be included to these other 8 items, correct?
yes, that $1 million went back into the HSIP statewide pot.
7 items. All right.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do we have any idea of what the total funding for these projects will be and what the individual proposed projects would be for each one of them, so we can get an idea of what the likelihood of full funding of all the projects would be?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mayor Good. Mike, can you run us through the numbers that you're crunching right now on the projects, if you would? Start with the city of Prescott, and if you can give us an idea of where we're looking at dollar-wise.
Sure. And these are rough estimates because we're still working through all of the locations on these systemic projects, but you're looking at $1 million minimum on any of these, with some of the things Dan mentioned about 40% contingencies that are included that ADOT has included in these applications. But the speed feedback signs, depending on how many streets we end up hitting, you're probably looking at $1.5 million to $2 million. That would be 100% federal, no match required. I'm anticipating the same amount in the same range for the intersection improvements, with the signing and marking improvements, probably $1.5 million to $2 million. Again, that one should be no match required locally. Same for Prescott Valley, probably $1 million to $1.5 million on their speed feedback signs. Now, when we get into the shoulder widening, that's when we get into some larger projects. Typically, you're looking at around $2 to $2.5 million per mile on the shoulder widenings. So most of these are in the 1.5 to 2 mile range. You're probably looking at $4 or $5 million on the shoulder widenings. We have not move forward with cost estimates on the raised median, but again, that's going to be a higher dollar type of project too. At 2.5 miles, you're probably looking at $2.5 to $3 million there would be my guess. That one will, if ADOT moves forward with it, require a match, but that won't come out of any local agencies. That'll be ADOT matching its own money.
Thank you, Mike.
So does that mean it's likely that if we do get the federal allocation for these, that all the projects would probably be funded?
That is correct right now. And Mike, if you want to add to the benefit cost ratio, but part of the reason for hiring Mike, Member Good, is to strategize what are we sending to the state that's most likely to get approved. I believe, Mike, some of these in your estimate, you have a higher benefit cost ratio in your opinion at this time?
Yeah, so in the past, the lowest ranked applications from a benefit cost standpoint were usually in the seven benefit cost ratio of 6.5 to 7. This go round, again, based on what Dan was saying and what ADOT has put into the applications, that bottom number is probably going to drop. I'm guessing it's going to be in the 4 to 5 range for the lowest BC ratio that gets funded. We typically shoot for a project that has a BC ratio of 10 or higher. Now, with the cost escalations on these, some of these are going to come in well below that, but we're going to try to keep all of them to at least a 5 or higher on the benefit cost ratio.
So to that point then, Member Good, we're estimating a high probability that these could be awarded is where we're at.
Now, is this for fiscal year 27? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. It would be designed in fiscal year 27 and the construction in 28, or the delivery of, if there's delivery of items in the year 28, fiscal year 28.
We would get funding in fiscal year 26 and then do our planning.
Yeah, just clarification on that point, Mike. For speed feedback signs, I don't, is their design done? Is it design 1 year and implementation the following year?
That's correct.
So Mayor Good, 27, they would be designed and you would see them on the streets in fiscal year 28.
So when would funding be awarded?
You would get the announcement later this year. If you've been successful in the award, you would know later on this calendar year.
You know, I'd like Director Gwen Rowich to inform me of what other issues or projects were proposed for the city of Prescott. I know there has been some discussions about more appropriate intersection developments other than the Gail Gardner one. Of course, we decided to put in our own there at Prescott Lakes Parkway and Sundog. But were any other projects considered?
Your phone.
Mayor Good, members of the board. These projects were what were recommended through Greenlight Consulting. We are watching other intersections in the city, but at this time, none of them meet warrants for a project of this type. So we're watching those other intersections that we've talked about in our own council meetings, but they don't meet warrants. If they don't meet warrants, they're not likely to be eligible for this grant. So we followed the advice of Greenlight Engineering because these were the projects that they felt could be potentially funded.
All right, the old warrants problem, huh?
It is the world we live in.
I know that's what they require before they can really consider it for a fundable project, right?
That's correct.
Well, I guess not having enough warrants is a good thing. That means we're not having accidents or fatalities, right?
I would agree.
Okay, thank you.
And just as a note to that, this program is based on 5-year historical crash data based in fatalities. So I believe the whole region in the last 5 years has had around 56 fatalities. I think I just cut down off. I didn't mean to. We were reading each other's mind. But anywhere where those fatalities have taken place, Mike is able to bring forward some future mitigation for additional fatalities. So just to give you a little bit of background on that.
All I have, Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
John?
I'll make a motion to approve identified projects for the fiscal year 27-28 Highway Safety Improvement Program.
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seems to be unanimous. Thank you, Gary. Review and discussion possible action to approve the applications for fiscal year 25 congressional directed spending. Vinny.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, many of you are probably familiar with this congressionally directed spending opportunity that Senator Kelly and Senator Sinema's office has sent out to you as local governments. We have an opportunity as CYMPO and as the region to also make an application. Just an incredibly brief background. I did put the information in your packet, but this particular program, historically probably known as earmarks, but more common or more currently known as congressionally directed spending, is what the Senate has allowed for and the House has allowed for these particular projects to be put forward by you. It's not restricted to transportation. It covers a very wide range from economic development to healthcare to transportation and all sorts of other things. I assume, or I would believe probably you and your staff have already talked about, or your managers have already started talking about applications that you may be pursuing. I have had a couple meetings recently to talk with the managers that represent each of your jurisdictions. And again, we're doing the best we can to coordinate and be most effective so that we're having applications that cover the full range. What I would like to present to you is one as it relates to transportation. As I met with the managers in the 5 local governments, they were in support of this conversation, and I'll bring you up to speed. As I've put also in your backup packet, the city of Prescott is continuing to meet with Dignity Health, formerly YRMC here in our region. And the intersection that's been identified for continuous work is the intersection adjacent to the Dignity Health property at the intersection of Willow Creek, Iron Springs, Miller Valley, and Whipple. And that intersection where you have the hospital on one, the Circle K on another, and then the parking lot where the farmer's market is another. All credit to the city of Prescott for continuing to make improvements over the years to that intersection. We met with city management staff and Dignity Health staff, and we're working together to find ways to continue to improve that intersection for the safety of all people in the area. Please recognize that that parking lot, as most of us are familiar, is where, again, the farmer's market happens on the weekend, but throughout the week that many employees in that area park and cross the street, and it continues to be an area of concern. So with that said, about a year ago, Dignity Health looked at getting a design for that intersection for a pedestrian bridge. They do have a proposal, a proposal to bring in a consultant to do some design work on that. What CYMPO's role is to continue to facilitate improvements of transportation and infrastructure in our region. So our conversation today is focused on getting your support for putting in a congressionally directed spending request for a plan that involves around the hospital facilities. We were successful in requesting of Senator Kelly's office 2 years ago for a $500,000 design concept report of 89A in Prescott Valley, and that's going to be going underway soon. So what I'm proposing for your consideration today is that the city of Prescott, town of Prescott Valley, Dignity Health, and CYMPO continue to work together. And the best way to do this is to look at a regional plan of that hospital facilities and what is their impact to the surrounding town, road network, transportation. We realize the economic development that happens and the quality of life of healthcare and how essential that is. We all recognize the high volume that these properties bring due to their staff, due to the patients, and a number of other reasons. So what I'm asking for support on is that on your behalf, I go ahead and submit a request of a plan to Senator Kelly and Senator Sinema's office for congressionally directed spending. And the request is to do a plan somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. This particular plan would look at the Dignity Health properties, and it would look at their impact on traffic around them, It would include the intersection that I referenced where that future pedestrian bridge could be. This plan would help to understand the feasibility, the challenges, and what is happening as it is today. And it would start to map out a way forward for all those local governments I referenced, the hospital, and then we can continue to see if we can't find grant opportunities to support Prescott, Prescott Valley, and other local governments. So I'm continuing to work on the details of the scope. I don't have a final dollar amount. In talking with consultants, they are targeting me probably around $300,000 request. When I look at congressionally directed spending, I would say that's on the lower end. If you look at the list of what's been awarded, yes, they do a couple $100,000 request, but you'll see typically $1 to $3 million projects. I was hoping to come forward today and ask for the support of doing a pedestrian bridge, but again, the design work has not been done to date, so we need to start there. So with that said, looking for support from you for me to do the congressionally directed spending request to do a regional healthcare impact of Dignity Health and how we can support you all and the future infrastructure. Happy to take any questions or comments.
Question?
Well, I'll just say that I have met with Dignity YRMC leadership. And even though several years ago when I met with their CEO, John Amos, when Hastings used to be in that place where Maverick is now, I recommended that maybe they would want to acquire that. But they said at the time it wasn't in their budget projection costs. So now it's going to be a double overhead rather than a single overhead. But it's quite an elaborate design or proposal. So I think being able to have some idea of what the cost would be to really consider it as a viable project, I think is very important. Because we've had a number of employees over there at the hospital that have had very close calls. Some of them actually have been hit trying to cross those high volume streets. And even though drivers and vehicles should be aware of them, frequently they're not. So I think it's a clear safety issue. And YRMC West Dignity is probably the primary acute care hospital that we have in the whole region. So it's almost a regional benefit.
Anyone else? Let me ask one question, Vinny, in regards to this project. Does this have any effect on those monies we're asking for from the senators? That is for other things, such like as the regional radio center?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the answer to that is yes. I hope, and this goes to my first comment, and I see Maury in the room as one of the managers, if you want to come up front, Maury. In talking with Maury, Gilbert Davidson, Tyler Goodman, and Cindy Blackmore, again, I really want to, as a regional partner, cooperate with your current ask, and Cindy's also in the room. So I realize that you all are looking at other opportunities of congressionally directed spending. I think what our hope is that there are multiple pots, i.e. transportation, other types of economic development, and maybe we don't all ask of the same pot, being that we don't challenge each other in what we're asking. And with that said, I would just close by saying, I don't think it impacts negatively. I think we're strategizing, but I'll let Maury and if Cindy has anything to add to that.
Let me say one other thing. I don't want us bringing things from the county that will challenge a better idea coming from a town or a city. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maury Thompson. You have a Pike County manager. Appreciate that comment and appreciate the question. Yes, I did raise that concern to fellow managers in Benny about us making a significant ask for countywide dispatch. And the thought was there to strengthen that request by minimizing other requests. We have since had communication with Senator Kelly's office and been assured that is not the case. So they are comfortable with us submitting all appropriate requests.
That's good to hear. Anything from Senator Sinema's court?
Shouldn't have stepped away so quick. Sorry about that. Yes, they are coordinating. So really a response from one on this regard is a response from both. So ease of application this year.
Okay. So Phil, from the city's point of view, would you want to then go ahead?
Try to get some broader support for centralized dispatch. I think that's probably a valuable project as well. I'm hoping that they don't compete. But clearly, I think anybody who has primary care or acute care needs in our healthcare arena will realize that the more support that we can give for the Dignity facilities, both in Prescott Valley and Prescott, and with the future projected third facility up south of Chino Valley, just makes our healthcare delivery system more efficient and accessible, because it continues to be a huge challenge to be able to provide employees and be able to get those services delivered locally and not have to make a trip down to the valley.
Any other questions?
Hey, Vinny.
Do I have a motion?
Hey, Vinny. Can we ask for more money like we discussed before, or are we gonna stick with this?
Chairman Brown and members of the board and Mayor Hughes, yes, I've actually already increased the dollar amount, and that's why I gave you a rough estimate. To do right now, the numbers that I'm crunching are about 150,000 to 200,000, but I'm looking at, again, making this a regional project, as we heard from Mayor Good and others, the impact of the region. So that's why, when all is said and done, I do, Mayor Hughes, want to put in a slightly greater request to encompass all the things that Mayor Good and the rest of you have said, of looking at the overall economic impact, the safety impact, the infrastructure impact. Long answer, Mayor Hughes, but I think at this point, the request will be padded with around 300,000 to 400,000 to address that.
All right, thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve application for fiscal year 25 congressionally directed spending as defined.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Thank you. A review and discussion and possible action to approve the amendment of the 24-25 Unified Planning Work Program, the UPWOOP, and the 22-26 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program, the MTIP.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Today we are requesting an amendment to our FY 24-25 Unified Planning Work Program and our FY 22 through 26 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program. So as usual, we outline all of the moves we're looking to make in your agenda packets. That's that first page, the list shown here. But I'm going to go ahead and just walk you through the pages that we're looking to amend, highlighted in yellow here. So there's a few housekeeping items in our work program here. We're adding the roadway safety assessment on SR 89A. This was previously approved. We're just adding that to our planning program as necessary. Also included is the SR 89 design concept report that we are including as a proposed activity for FY 24 and 25. That's between Road 3 North and 5 North, and Vinny will give more information on that one after I get through this, the rest of this amendment here. In there. So the primary purpose of this amendment is to address the balance of HSIP funds that we've been made aware of by ADOT. We have a balance of 122,000 HSIP funds, that's Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, available to us in fiscal year 24. It's project cost savings from previous HSIP projects in the region. So we are proposing a few different ways to use that. It is subject to an obligation authority amount of 94.9%. So we have $116,000 to program. We're suggesting we go ahead and allocate $49,000 to the crash data analysis that Mike Blankenship and Greenlight Traffic Engineering is performing for us this fiscal year. And then also allocating $35,000 to the roadway safety assessment, already approved and in the work program. So that takes care of 84,000. That leaves a balance of 32. And we are proposing, well, I should say that the funds are limited in use. They are limited to safety projects. So we are a little bit limited in the scope of projects that we can look to contribute to. So looking at what's going on in the CYMPO region, we do have an existing HSIP project taking place with Yavapai County. And that's the Williamson Valley and Stasinski Road northbound left turn lane. So we have been in contact with the county and Dan Cherry and have identified a use for this funding for that project, for the construction portion of that project. So that's what we're proposing to do with the remaining balance there. And then lastly, my final page. Oh, I should show here we're updating our tip a little bit. Here we're adding the Safe Streets for All funding that the town of Prescott Valley was awarded the last cycle for the Transportation Safety Action Plan. Noting that here in our tip, and also the removal of the Gail Gardner Fair Street traffic signal. And lastly, this page here is a new page in our tip that we've added. We have a balance of FY24 funding that we are looking to program. However, we're currently in the process of scope, schedule, and budget for a few different projects. So we haven't quite identified the final budget amounts for these proposed projects. If you'll recall, the bottom four were brought to you at the last executive board meeting and included in our work program. And Vinny, if you'd like to go into the first one.
Thank you, Allison. Yes, I would like to talk about, again, these are not determined programs. That's why it's in the parking lot, to be determined. But it does give us the opportunity to work with you and your staff and continue to brainstorm an opportunity on these projects. So please note, with your approval today of these amendments does not force these to exist or to happen. It just allows staff to continue to work together. To Allison's specific point, Chairman, this one's in your district. We've been talking a lot about State Route 89 between roads 3 and 5 North. You and everyone knows that's the #1 priority from the legislative funding. The $13 million estimated for that project is truly a estimated project. We do not have the detailed analysis of that corridor. So it's my general opinion right now. I want to work with you and your TAC members to see if we can't actually, in this next year, get a design concept report on that corridor. Reason for that is that would give us an exact cost of what we're looking at. Again, that $13 million is a rough number, so I think that would be important. And then, Mr. Chair and members of the board, those other items, again, we just continue to discuss with your managers and your staff if there's an opportunity to do some regional work as it relates to trails, wildlife corridor, and other areas. So with that said, Mr. Chair, Allison and I can take any of your questions or comments.
Thank you, Allison. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the amendment to this item. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Therefore, I want some more discussion on a couple of things, just so we're all straight on this.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to continue with the 3 items that we have currently in the legislative priority list that we have listed with RTAC, correct?
That is correct, sir.
That's in their filing. So that's not changing.
That is not.
However, this will give us additional funding to move forward on these items if they don't go through legislatively, correct?
Yeah, just a clarification, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So the legislative funding would be separate from this, even though they're the same projects. By identifying this in the work program and the tip, I want to be able to come back to you irrelevant of what the legislature does financially, if they support or don't support. And I want to see, Mr. Chair, how we can continue to keep these projects afloat. I think we have planning dollars that we can help to continue to move 89 between 3 and 5 North forward and do some planning work, no matter what the state does or doesn't do, is the intent.
Does this work for you, Tom?
Certainly, we're in constant contact with the legislators on this, or at least I am, and I think they're getting tired of hearing from me, but that will not stop.
Good.
All right. We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Chair, I hate to remind you, but we still have Kevin. We think we have communication with him, but I may have jinxed it. So it's up to
I
you.
hadn't forgot him.
Just letting you know.
This is two meetings in a row.
I know.
So,
Reminder that doesn't happen when you meet in June.
yeah. Okay, so, okay, the ADOT Northwest District Report. Eddie?
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. The ADOT Northwest District Report. I think I'm going to ask Member Knight to assist me on this first one that I'm bringing up. The ADOT tentative 2025 through 2029 5-year construction plan has been released for public review and comment. Deadline May 24th at 5 p.m. on that. Member Knight, do you have any comments on this one?
No, we looked at when we just got the draft for the next 5-year budget and projects, and I'm still going through all of those. As you know, I've got 5 counties in my district, so it's and there's projects in all of them, but there are a couple items that we did approve at the last meeting, but I'm anxious to hear from you guys what you think about the programs that are planned in the new 5-year plan.
Benny?
I don't know that I have a whole lot to add for, I guess, his comment at this time, sir.
Any questions? Comments?
Well, the only question I have is, did you open the bids for the 69 widening yet?
No. I have a report on that one
Okay.
coming.
That's
I'm waiting with bated breath.
So the big thing for that 25 through 29 5-year plan really is for people to right now, since it's been released, really go out there, look at that plan, look at the program, the projects that are in the region, and then make comments, because those comments get taken into account when this goes to the board then for the final adoption in, I believe it's June. Remember, Knight?
Yes, that's correct. It has to be approved at the June meeting so that it will be on the governor's desk by July 1st.
So that's
It'll be on ADOT's website.
It is on ADOT's website, correct?
And it's listed under the Northwest District.
No, this is a statewide. This is a statewide, the statewide construction plan.
Districts.
It is, I don't believe it's broken down by district, so you actually, you have to do a little bit of searching in there for the projects.
Gotta work for it.
Mayor Hughes?
Just said you gotta work for it.
Any other thoughts or questions? Andy, any further?
Not on that topic, no.
Okay.
So next, for the projects that we do have in construction right now, I-17 at 169 TI underpass deck replacement. Project still in winter shutdown, waiting for temperatures for our final ACFC placement and some other cleanup items on that project. The Centerline Rumble Strips project from Paulden to Ash Fork. We had our partnering meeting on March 18th, so that project should be starting off here very shortly to add those rumble strips. That should be a couple of weeks project. It will impact traffic using
Where
that.
does it start? Exactly.
Starts just at milepost 339, which is just north of the Bramble and 89 intersection.
Not quite to the forest line, but close.
Not quite to the forest line, but yes. And then, of course, any updates you want to have on the I-17 Anthem to Sunset Point Flex Lane project, go to the website, project website, improvingi17.com. And I see Mayor Hughes has a question.
Mr. Chair. It, is the rumble strips in Paulden going to be night or day?
It would be a daytime project.
Thank you.
So right now it's scheduled from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is the work hours for that project. For the projects still in design and advertisement, the 69 Prescott Lakes Parkway to Heather Heights. The bid opening on that is April 19th. So that's when we will open the bids for that project. Remember, good. The Rumble Strip project on State Route 169 from Grantwood Parkway to I-17. We are looking at a re-advertisement pending our environmental clearance on that one. That's the job that was rejected all bids because they were too high the last go around. So we're going to put it back out to bid and hopefully get some better prices on that one. State Route 89 at Little Ranch Road, left turn lane. This is one of the HSIP projects. Is in stage 5. Does it development, which is basically the plan specifications and estimate, PS&E stage, and hoping to advertise that fourth quarter of fiscal year 24.
Got a question, Andy.
Yes.
So if you open the bids on the Highway 69 widening project on April 19th, and assuming that the bids are acceptable, the low bid, what's the time frame between bid award and construction initiation?
So if all goes well with the bid opening in April, should go to the board in May for award. And then I don't recall it's either a 60 or a 45 day then notice to proceed from there.
But it'll be in this fiscal year?
It still counts as this fiscal year because of the bid opening in fiscal year 24. So yes, it still counts that even if we start the work in fiscal year 25, it gets appropriated for the fiscal year 24 program.
This has been long awaited.
Yes, I know.
Anything more?
Any other questions?
I'll just keep that on my calendar and
circle that date.
Yeah, that's right.
As long as we don't do any amendments during the thing, which may, but we're hoping that we have that everything is good, but it will depend on what questions come from bidders on that.
Wait a minute, I'm watching you and I'm looking at Dan Cherry over here shaking his head like this. I'm going, uh-oh. There's nothing you want to interject on this, is there, Mr. Cherry? Thank you.
All right, moving on. State Route 89 at 89A TI on-ramp improvements. Right now, working on the stage 4, 95% design, and anticipate that completion of that design in fiscal year 24. And Vinny, I guess, do you have any things we want to say about the funding for this one?
Are we talking the roundabout?
No, this is the 89A TI on-ramp.
I will say that the design is getting wrapped up and there's no money to construct it. So we'll continue to look for $5 million. If anyone has it, let me know.
That is listed in the RTAC request, right?
That is listed in the RTAC legislative request. Yes, sir.
Okay.
There you go.
State Spur 89A, which is Fane Road. This was a project that got added for our pavement preservation. program, asphalt spot repairs and microsurface treatment for that. And that's from Robert Road down to Lynx Creek Bridge. So that got added to our program, and we're anticipating a bid advertisement in fourth quarter of fiscal year 24 on that project as well. And then finally, State Route 69 at State Route 169 roundabout. Right now, working on the stage 4 95% design for that project.
I agree. Lots to say, but I'll hold that too.
So that's my report, and if there's any questions, happy to entertain.
Thanks, Andy. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, before I go on to State Transportation Board report, I want to go back to the real quick to Vinny's report. Vinny, can you give us a quick update, very quick update on our expansion of our borders for CYMPO?
Absolutely. Mr. Chair, members of the board, to your question about the expansion that you approved. So we are currently working, we as in staff, so Michael Lamar and myself are meeting with the Federal Highway Administration, the Arizona Department of Transportation. They've sent us an email outlining the steps, and I think the determination, and that's why we're meeting for clarification. It was my understanding that ultimately we would need the governor's signature, but they have proposed a way forward that this adjustment may be adequate enough with all of your endorsements and approvals. So all that to say, we're going to be meeting in the next week. I would expect for sure within the next 3 to 6 months, we can have this finalized. Where it may get hung up, Mr. Chair, is the governor's role in that. However, again, staff has identified an alternative to that. And if that's the case, then I see a more of a 3 to 4 month. And if she's included, then we're probably looking at the 6-month mark, but that would include the expansion of all of Western and Southern Yavapai County. You've approved it, NACOG is in support. So on the local level, we're good to go.
Okay. Just to comment briefly on that, I'm having a rather high level discussion with someone in regard to the future. We'll be reiterating all of the CREST funding of our roads and system in our priority. Yeah.
Sounds good, sir.
All right. Well, where's our TAC? Kevin, where are you?
I am here. How do I sound now?
You sound good. You look
Great.
terrible. Sound good.
Did you catch any of the first presentation?
I think you ought to start over, to be honest with you.
Only the 2 listings of the deficits. Anything
Okay.
after?
Well, you missed a fantastic update,
Down
but
again.
I'll try to give you one just as good.
I'm out.
Please look up.
Okay, well, so the legislature did finish up their committee work last week, and so they'll wrap up work on the all of the bills that have moved through that process, and they'll really start to focus on approving a budget, and we'll probably see the work on that step up rather dramatically in the next couple of weeks. And unfortunately, we are dealing with a deficit this year. It's anticipated that current year is going to end about 834 million in the hole, and we're currently projected to have about an 878 million deficit for next year. They will definitely need to balance the budget when they draft their budget bills. And so that will definitely be an issue going forward. But with that said, we've definitely had worse years. We're not expecting any dramatic types of shifts. Unfortunately, because it is a deficit, what we are probably looking at is no available funding for additional transportation projects. But conversely, I think the case that we've made in illustrating all of the unmet needs that are out there, unlike in previous years, I also don't think they'll be targeting existing transportation funding to help balance the budget. So I'm not anticipating any HERF raids like they did when we had the big recession about 15 years ago. So bottom line is I'm not expecting any new revenue going to transportation, but I'm not expecting any revenue to be taken away either. As far as other legislation goes, House Bill 2318 is our bill.
You can't hear me. I just turned the microphone on. You can't hear me? Okay. Whenever you're ready. Okay, thank you. At the last board meeting, we did approve under item 6, the P-PAC. We approved 2 new projects. One was, or they're both concerned with rehabilitating the Big Bug Creek Bridge. The first one was 30,000. The second was 350,000. They're both new projects, and the board approved both. They were the only items on the agenda for last month in Yavapai. The next state transportation board meeting is April 19th in Buckeye. I think according to board member Jackie Meck, this is the first time that we've held a state transportation board in Buckeye. He's looking forward to it. It's in his district. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Okay, great. I can hear you fine. I heard him right up to the end, and then it went dead. I got most of it.